what's the Johnson man who started
Bob Johnson?
Bob Johnson, BT, right?
Yeah,
If you can have Ebony, the man who died with Ebony, if you can have the Diddy's, if you can have the Jay-Z's, do you think that they've only selected a hand? No, their mindset, if you talk to those people, they're not victims. They're taking what they believe is theirs. They played the little nasty game in the entertainment industry, but they're taking what is theirs. You know, they may say they have strange bedfellows. I mean, maybe so. But I think the heart of this country really isn't racism. It's going to be classism. It's the haves and the have-nots. And if you get to a certain level, they don't care what color you are. They're not sitting around discussing racism. They use it because they know we're sitting around talking about it. And it helps keeps us in our place.
Holding me.
Hello, everybody. I am Ari Squires. Welcome to the Release a Change podcast, where we have real, raw, and revolutionary discussions helping people like you release your mental, emotional, financial, and generational chains. And today I am so excited to welcome my girl Marla Pruitte. I'm sorry, boo. Marla Pruitte, who is here to join me today to have this discussion about her journey, her business, and anything that we can do to assist you. Again, these are solution-based discussions that help you with whatever it is you're going through on your journey at this present moment in time. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. So
thank you.
Marla, thank you so much for joining me. Can you please just remind me and then tell everybody else
we met
about who
through
you
social
are?
media
Years
ago.
Yep.
Back when we were on that speaking circuit, and we were just kind of in the same circles. I just started following you. You started following me, and then boom, you're here in Atlanta, and now we're like friends now. And I'm, and it's just been an interesting journey over the years to watch everybody evolve and change and grow and all that good stuff. So here we are. But I started out. I'm a talker. I like to talk, but when it comes to tell us who are you, I don't even like to start off with what I do, because ultimately we all have I think it's like a soul purpose.
There you go.
We all say that, but we really do.
We really do.
And I know how I show up in the world, and it's to make people think. It's to make people consider, like, going within, and that way you can see more without, and just consider a lot of things. I like to challenge people's thinking. And
that's why I like you. I'm like that too, because I'm an out of the box thinker, right? Because a lot of times we've been taught things that are not necessarily true. And this comes to our families, the government, all the stuff that's going on. And a lot of people are just quick to either jump on a bandwagon or quick to believe without doing research. And I'm a research person, and I like to know things for myself. But I love people like you who are very outspoken, but I know that now when she's talking about she's outspoken, y'all, for those of you guys that don't know, she shares a lot of stuff on her social media page, and she's real and raw. And I love that again. And so I know that you made a post one time and you were saying, and we're going to get to her business too in a moment, but I remember one time you made a post about you want to say, you actually do this often.
I do.
I want to say something, but I just don't want to say it.
And I'm going to tell you what I'm going through when I do that.
Please
because
do.
I didn't used to do that. And as I've grown and gotten older, some things, well, that's just the way I am. But some things you need to fine tune the way you are. And sometimes you need to stop being the way you are. But I also know that I can't shrink who I really am.
Absolutely.
And what I know that I'm called to, and I say called, but I know that I'm the person that's going to take the risk and say it and let the chips fall where they may. Well, I'm a little more cautious now because I do have a business. And so sometimes I'm like, but you're not being authentic. So I'm going through something right now where I want to be who I am authentically, because I know that I'm going to reach people, because I know the people that I've reached. I used to have that radio show, and boy, you talk about, I know that I lost a job before because of my radio show before. That's not what they said. I was just laid off. But my mother came and told me years later, that's why you lost that job.
Because you were being real, raw, authentic.
I was being authentic and I was challenging the status quo.
Yes.
But, sometimes I'm like, you can't save everybody. So I'm going to just do what I know, what I'm inspired to do. So what I do now is I take inspired actions or do things when I'm inspired to do them. So when you see me post like, oh my God, I want to say something, but I know what it comes with. And so right now my piece is more valuable than most anything. So when I'm supposed to speak, I do.
So has there ever been a moment where you like hit the, the post and delete? Because I know we all do that.
Yeah, a lot. If you've been watching me for about the past year, every Monday I go on my page and I delete. I'm like, let me just delete this. Okay, because sometimes the way the algorithms work, old posts pop up. I'm like, I don't need nobody else. This discussion is done.
That's true.
And then I'm thinking like, I just really want to post things about the business. So let me delete this conversation.
Yeah.
Because, I post for the moment, for the conversation. So if you miss the conversation at the moment, it's over. So I'm just removing it from my page.
That's a good little tactic.
I just do every Monday.
That's a good little tactic. I hate when somebody come on something that I talked about last week or 2 days ago. I'm gonna use that.
I'm like, nah, let me get over that.
That's good.
Because what people do is they tend to try to characterize you or make the sum total of you the parts that they disagree with. And so they can't see anything beyond that about you.
Right.
And I'm so much more. And I'm like, y'all, I do post a lot of silly stuff. Right. I post a lot of things that like, oh, I didn't know that. Or, I don't watch a lot of TV, but every now and then I post. But so I don't want everything to be that you remember something you disagree with me about. Absolutely. And most time it's just because it's challenging people.
Absolutely.
And it's called cognitive dissonance. And I realize that. So people really I don't have any emotions for the most part after I make a post.
Yeah.
My memory's such, Ari, that I don't even remember what I posted last week. Oh, I said that. Girl, I probably did. Yeah. I said it, I meant it, but it's not that serious.
Right.
So, yeah, I delete.
So what is it that you want us people? You say that you post because you want to kind of wake people up. And I know that term woke is this term.
Yes.
But I mean, I've had to awaken from some things that I have gone through in my life. I call it like unlearning and relearning. Right. What do you want people to get?
I want people here's what I want people to get. I want people to stop following the crowd. I want them to not be afraid to question something just because everybody believes it.
Right. Yep.
I mean, that's just me.
Yeah.
And I just want people to take a little more initiative. And I'm not saying I'm always right, because there are some things I've come full circle on, and I always let people know, hey, I can stand to be corrected at any time. And I'm the first to backpedal. Okay, you're right. I learned something I didn't know.
Absolutely.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
You know what? I should have looked a little bit deeper. But a lot of people, they need to get more sources. Get more sources.
Yep.
And they need to learn to trust themselves. Trust yourself.
Let's talk about that, because I think, okay, so there's 7 steps that I have to release the change. So one is listening.
Okay.
Right? The second one is peeling. The third one is detaching.
Yeah.
We got to detach from some things.
Yes.
Forgiving, trusting, healing, and then evolving.
Yes.
So when it comes to our people, right, and just people in general, right, which of those 7 steps you feel we are currently in at this present time that we need to release and process and go through?
I already know. We need to detach.
Detach from what? Specifically.
We need to so much.
I know.
We need to detach from the reliance of other people telling us who we are.
That's good.
I mean, this whole argument about critical race theory. I don't get into certain things anymore. I do know what I believe on certain things, but I know what I will not get involved in. Not because I'm not studied or read enough about a subject is because we haven't detached from certain ideologies.
Yeah.
And until we detach from them, you can't even get to the healing process and evolution, because detachment creates resistance to something different.
There you go.
The lack of detachment, I mean, is it creates resistance, and it doesn't leave space for allowance for your truth to make itself evident in your life. So many of us think we have the truth in our lives, and I'm not here to tell you you do or you don't. I'm not really, although sometimes I'm like, you really don't, but that's not for me to tell you, because then I have to go back and remember, everybody has their own journey.
Yes.
I got here in the time I was supposed to get here.
Yeah.
And if someone else is supposed to get to a certain space where I am or where somebody else is or wherever they're supposed to go, they're going to get there on their own. I had to release the need to try, but you don't you see? Can't y'all see?
Yeah.
I had to release that need because everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah.
So, but your step, the detachment from having someone tell us who we are, from needing to hold on to the narrative of who we are, because I think holding on to a particular narrative makes you a perpetual victim. We will never get to the healing because I think we're still stuck in the victim stage.
Yeah. Oh, honey, let's talk about that victim mentality, right? So before we do that, I would like for you to talk about your journey and your detachments that you had to go through to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And what you're doing now in your business. And then we're going to get back to that victim mentality because I think it is so crucial.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that because as a business owner, I was talking to my mentor just today, and you see the box of cake mix. We haven't even talked about the business yet, but you see the product, you see the news articles and her doing this, and you know the announcements I'm going to be making soon. But there's so much they don't tell you. But you can't even get here honestly and think you're going to be successful because that mind. I've had to detach from a lot. I'm an identical twin. And with that comes the only people I think can relate are twins or other multiples, particularly identical ones, because people see you as one person. We shared everything, the womb. We started out sharing a womb. We shared a placenta in my mother's womb because we were identical. We were the same egg. We split. We shared DNA. And so growing up, we shared a room growing up. We went to college together. And so when we started doing things differently for me, and my journey is completely different than my sister's. But for me, there were some things that I didn't recognize as trauma for me as growing up. Like I wasn't physically or mentally abused. I was loved. You know, I had the parents. I, for all intents and purposes, I had a really good life. But then I had to look back and identify, why are you like this, Marla? There's this sense of comparison that I've had, and the person I compare myself to the most in this world is my sister, and I'm trying to compete with my sister. It's just simply comparison, and
probably because it's been like that your whole life,
my whole life, and then I grew up in a really religious family. I'm a PK, so when I got pregnant in college, unmarried at 21 years old. You know, that shaped who I became as a woman. It shaped who I am as a woman now. And in every relationship after that, things that occurred that was said to me after I happened. You know, I don't hold grudges against anybody. My parents, because they spoke from their marinade. Absolutely. But I had to detach from comparing myself. So I overachieved as the years went on, and you know, I wanted to be I have siblings outside of my sister. You know, I didn't do this intentionally, but subconsciously, I was trying to make sure I was as good as everybody else in the family. You know, I got the house first. I bought my own home when I was 28, 29 years old, and I was a single mom. First one to buy a house, the first one to get an advanced degree, 2 advanced degrees. But then again, you have all these things. I didn't get married. You know, I'm competing like what was wrong with me, and so I had to go through. it seems simple, but it was just a lot I had to detach, that I'm worthy enough and good enough because
to stand in your own
to
power.
stand in my own power.
Yeah.
Because I've had people speak into my life who could see things in me that I didn't see, and they were saying, you're competing, but Marla, I don't think you see, and it's not to put you and compare you to your siblings, but you're the one in your family. And I'm like, huh? They're like, yeah, you're going to be, no, everybody in my family's doing really well, but I consider myself the black sheep. But they say that those who consider themselves the black sheep typically are the ones that are going to be the different ones and trail and blaze different paths.
It's a beautiful thing to be the black sheep.
It is
the black sheep.
And you know what? I had to accept, I'm just different. But I had to work on Marla and because you can't go into business as not a whole person. You cannot.
Yeah.
You know, you can only talk so much.
Right.
You got to show and prove.
Yeah.
And all areas of your life work in concert together. So, you know, I had the bakery before I was a professional baker, and had the bakery, I owned a little shoe boutique. I was doing a professional trainer and doing consultation with, other HR companies and things like that. And then we were speaking. But, everything, I just felt like nothing really lashed and was, even with pink rubber tires when we went on the show.
That. Yeah.
I just felt like nothing ever lashed on and blossomed. But this right here, because Marla had to work on herself.
And so
Marla
this is your cake,
so I Mary Alice Cakes, the first full line of cake mixes, that's going to be in major retailers this year. So we're really excited.
Yeah.
Making a little history here, going on here.
Yeah.
And I have to pat myself on the back sometimes. Because when you're just in the thick of it and you're working and you're trying to do things and you're learning and you're making the mistakes, you don't see it the way other people see it.
Because I see it as I mentioned to you before, as historical.
Yeah.
And something that we as a community of women and entrepreneurs and black people, we're going to talk about that word black people too in a moment. But we got a lot to talk about today. You hear me?
Do we have enough time?
I know. How much time y'all got? But for real, like, we got to really rally around each other and support each other in what we're doing. So in saying that, right, with the Mary Alice cake, you had to detach yourself from. It sounds like to me you were doing things just to be doing them for maybe like it didn't maybe feel good to your spirit and your heart, but you were doing them trying to identify with what your purpose truly was. And then the cake kind of came around. The cake mix idea is like, this is it for me. Was that right?
I've had several its.
Okay.
But I kind of blew the other its.
Okay.
But
and it was that because of the attack. Because I'm just saying this because there's probably somebody listening right now who is in the same space and they're trying to get out of that.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
You gotta. Let me tell you what I had to do. And even with my sister last year, and she didn't know, and it wasn't personal. It wasn't her. I had to separate. Literally from her, and I was just not, and my family thought I was being distant, but I had to, I knew what was going on with Mary Alice. I know where Mary Alice is finna go. Like, I know with like I'm sitting here looking at you, I know where it's gonna go. But I also knew what I was dealing with emotionally and mentally at the time.
Right.
I'm like, you're going to have to get yourself together. You're going to have to do the work, Marla Pruitte. Yeah, I know you thought you did a few years ago, but it's clearly some things that if you mention to you still a little emotional about it, that means you ain't really healed from it. Because there's no wisdom.
Those triggers.
There were some triggers. And one thing I've learned, there's no wisdom in your feelings. There's nothing.
That is so
the
true.
only thing your feelings do is tell you where you are. It's a gauge for you to either self-correct. It just shows you where you are.
Right.
But we put too much value in our emotions. And I'm an emotional person. Emotions aren't bad. They're good.
Right.
But we make them mean something that they're not. It's just a feeling. So I had to cut myself off because I found myself comparing. My sister is a highly successful realtor. And it's just like, she's the manifestor. That's her brand. But what I want to do is I got myself together. But then I still felt, even as I was launching Mary Alice, and I'm getting it, and I felt, and when we talked about deleting posts, because I know, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do that, but I know I'm here to be a light. I know that I'm here to wake up whomever I've been assigned to wake up. I know that. And so I'm thinking, how do you be authentic with that purpose run a multi-million-dollar national brand, how do I make them work? And I'm still working those kinks out right now because I refuse to anymore this year deny who I am.
Ooh, girl, that was so good.
Yeah.
Because I think I don't think it, I actually know it, just speaking from my own journey and so many of the people that I work with. When you really tap into who you are authentically, like we think about people who people may or may not like, but like the Cardi B's of the world, and these people who people identify with authenticity. People identify with the raw and the realness, and that's why people love reality TV and things like that. So it's like we gotta be who we are, and that's why I created this movement. Is to be able to have these type of discussions where we can really dive deeper into who we really are as human beings, to heal each other, to help each other heal and evolve and detach and peel back the layers and all of these things that we do. But on the flip side of that, as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure we're not the only people that deal with this, there's this line that you have to still kind of maintain. But I believe that once you say, you know what, forget it, I'm going to be Marla, I believe that's when your business is going to blossom even more. You get what I'm saying?
And I agree with you with that. There's a line, but almost like says who?
You're being fake. Yeah, it's like you're being fake. And there's no, there's what they say
this because with the political season and with COVID and the vaccine and all that stuff,
there's so much.
I have opinions that don't necessarily go with the flow. And so you're worried about they're not going to be my supporter. Well, here's the truth. They're not going to support you anyway.
And your real supporters are going to support you, and you'll actually get even more supporters because you're being authentic.
And
so let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about this real quick. The word black. I have that on here. I have that on here. Why shouldn't we call ourselves black people?
You know, but it's funny because, I used to have a podcast and I had a whole show planned out talking about this. I never got around to doing it. So I'm so excited you brought that up here.
Yes.
And so this is going to be one of those controversial things.
I know, it is.
That I'm going to talk about. This is something I'll never stop talking about regardless. Because it shouldn't even really be offensive.
Right. Absolutely.
First off, this is black. Technically, it's not. See, this is what I say about I'm here to make people wake up and think.
Yeah.
Because if you do a little research, if you study etymology, if you study not even etymology, but if you just go get dictionaries that are older than what you're looking at right now.
You just look up the word race.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're gonna let you. I'm gonna let you finish, and we're gonna come back.
But if you look up the word black, what it really means, it means pale, white, bleak. So I found this out years ago. So I was like, wait just a minute, that's what white means,
right?
And do you notice when I put on my page, I always say, nothing is what it seems. Everything you believe, the opposite is true, and I truly believe that because I understand. For what I believe is the truth about media. And it's, you can Google, but not about media.
Right.
Here's what gets me when people say, but it's Google. But that's like saying back in the day when we used to go to the library, what do we use? The little catalog.
Yeah, the little database.
People say, but that's just on Google. That's just like saying, but you found that in the car catalog and went and got the book off the shelf. Google is
same
the car
thing.
catalog.
It really is.
Our kids don't even know what that is. Google. Because there's scholarly research on there that will show you things that you don't need a car catalog for. So black, if you look up the definition of black, first off, black, if you really want to get into it, and we're not going to really get deep into it here, it's a status. And
it
so
is. So
I know it makes people it triggers people when I say, oh, I'm not black. Now, culturally, I believe we can be black culturally because it's a culture thing. But race-wise, no, I'm not black. No. Yeah. I'm not.
Right. I agree.
And I'm cautious because I'm certified with different organizations with my business.
Right.
The National Minority Supplies Development Council, the word minority is in it. It makes me cringe because I'm not a minority. To be a minor means to be a child, to be a child in essence. And that I'm not.
It's like we've been told who we are.
Yeah, that's why I say we have to detach from certain things. And you already know how I believe. Until we detach from being, we have been told who we are. But who do we say we are?
Who do we say we are? And that's when it comes to, again, Releasing those chains.
Releasing the chains.
So do you believe that there's generational curses? Because some people don't like that term, you know. But when we look at us and the way we think as a culture, as a Black culture, I believe it is.
So let me say it this way. I want to change it from the word curse.
Okay.
Because to answer your question, yes.
Mm-hmm. That's why I call them chains. I call them generational chains.
And let me tell you why it's so real and why it literally is passed down and why the trauma. There's a person I won't call his name that I don't follow anymore, but a broke clock is right twice a day. He said something today. I was like, I'm with you when you're right. He said something today about it's time for us to get off this, but it's post-traumatic slavery, post-traumatic slavery. Like, okay, yeah, we've identified that, we know what it is, but it's really time for us to get off that.
Absolutely.
It's really time to get off
we've been sitting on that for too long. We got to evolve from it.
I got so much to say. I forgot what we was talking about.
No, I was saying about generational change.
Oh, okay.
Well, curses. So, the term generational curses.
So here's the deal. Energy is something that's real. People, a lot of religious people, we don't believe in no energy as a Holy Spirit, but just bear with me for a second and hear me out. And I wish I could use a different word other than energy, but for me, it's energy. Energy, your mood, your attitude, what you dealt with, literally impacts your DNA. So when there's a group of people experiencing the same trauma, it's impacting their genetics. So when you procreate and you have offsprings, it's passed trauma, unresolved trauma literally is passed down through biologically.
Absolutely.
So yes, if you want to, I'm not cursed, so I'm not going to say a curse, but the idea of what you're saying, it is passed down.
Right.
But it can be, just like it's passed down, it can be corrected just like that. And then you can stop passing it down through your bloodline.
Yeah.
So it's not that your family is cursed because somebody in your family did something, and your family's not cursed because they were slaves. They were enslaved. We weren't slaves because they were enslaved. Nobody's cursed. If you serve a God, why would you serve a God that's gonna curse you?
Right.
Like I can't get with that.
Right. I agree.
No, you're not cursed. However, you are passing down generational trauma, generational habits. Right. And so it is passed down. And generational mindsets are passed down. It's a mind thing.
And this is what I just made a post recently because I get so sick and tired of people saying cancer runs in my family.
Girl.
Heart disease runs in my family. Diabetes run in my family. No, what runs in your family
is your mouth.
Our eating habits.
Yes.
The stress, how we deal with stress. You get what I'm saying? Yes. That's what runs in our family. So it's the habits we need to release.
And the habit of speaking that it runs in your
family. Your family. Like, oh my gosh. Because like you say, even the words are powerful and words are energy. I mean, it's scientific. I know some people don't get into science, but
have
it's
you seen
science.
The experience where they place plants side by side? Where you got to Google it because you can Google it. And they placed the same plant side by side. Watered both of them the same.
They gave one a little more love. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
I saw something like
you
that.
You were so beautiful.
Yeah, I saw that.
I love you. And then they went to the other plants like, you old ugly plant. You ain't worth nothing. That plant literally died. And the other plant flourished. Well, then they went and started talking love to the other plant, and it grew. Now, how much more will it do for us if a plant responds to the energy of your work? There's power, there's energy behind everything. That's what I have to work on myself daily. Because I'm being challenged in this entrepreneurial journey. I tell people, I was telling my mentor today, it feels like there's sometimes just like a wheel, and it's just like, what is it? It's like, it just keeps spinning. She said, people don't see that part. She said, but I promise you, Marla, it's going to work. It's going, and I know it. You just have to push through. But I had to watch that mouth. And so today I woke up, I'm like, I'm not going to feel this way. I'm not going to, and I said, what can I do? I said, you know what? Let me stop. I stopped myself. I said, I'm asking you this out of desperation. So let me stop. Because I'm sending out an energy of desperation, which is going to retract or repel what I'm trying to get to. So, it's a generational thing that we're speaking it and we're expecting it. Nothing that we deal with health-wise is something that has to be passed down, or that we even have to deal with.
So how do we, you mentioned we can correct it. What's that? Because this is I'm all about solutions. We can talk and discuss and talk all day long, but at the end of the day, what are the solutions? How can we correct it?
Change your mind about a thing. Like, I'm going to change my mind
and
about
make a decision.
But you literally have to change your mind.
You really do.
And that's work that you have to do, because it's just not something that you got to form new habits and form new expectations. Here's the thing. So your mind has memories, but your body has memories too. So sometimes I find myself doing things because my body is so used to responding to certain things that happen to me in a way that it makes me feel a certain way. And then that triggers my thoughts and how I feel about it. So then it just triggers that, and I respond a certain way. So your body has certain memories to certain things that have happened to you over and over in life.
Yeah.
So you got.
And that's one thing I learned from my life coach many years ago is how to recognize, the way your body is feeling during certain situations.
Yes.
And then when you recognize, like, oh, I've been here before.
Yes.
This don't feel right.
Yes.
I remember I was here before, and
yes.
let me make a decision, a conscious decision to do something different, to make a better decision, to change a habit, and then you begin to shift the dynamics of what's going to happen in the future.
We fight so hard for our limitations, and we don't even realize we fight. We're married to feeling bad, or we're married to having an expectation that things are not going to work out. And so the first time we hit a major bump in the road, we give up. And one makes me do, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
No, you just didn't push through.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened, you kind of expected it to happen, so it happened.
So one thing I always hear you talk about as well is living and operating in 3D.
Yes.
Explain that. 4D. 5D. I'm sorry, 5D.
Oh, here goes that thing where people gonna think I'm crazy.
No,
I know you won't think I'm crazy. Your people are good people. They not gonna think I'm crazy.
And it's okay. And it's okay for people to not understand because, again, we got to go back to that unlearning and relearning and detaching to what we have been taught from people who were taught what they were taught.
You be paying attention what I write,
right?
too, girl.
I do, girl.
So here's the deal.
Because I'll be right with you.
I believe we're spiritual beings. We've always heard, even in church, we're spiritual. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So you have to keep that in mind.
No more chains holding me.
Why settle for a job that feels like a chore? Every day, Grants Consulting Group hears from career professionals who struggle to interact with their coworkers, feel uncomfortable and cannot be their authentic selves in the workplace, cannot find career opportunities they actually enjoy, are unable to communicate their value and negotiate their pay. Many of these individuals often settle, jumping at the first opportunity because they think they cannot discover other possibilities. That cannot be a good feeling. With over 25 years of experience in business and HR, Andrea Grant helps you go from feeling like a mess to finding success. If you're ready to transform your frustration to fulfillment, visit grantsconsultinggroup.com to learn why 100% of their clients have referred their services and how they can help professionals like yourself find the career of your dreams while still staying authentic to yourself. For a limited time, Andrea is offering a complimentary career breakthrough session to help you identify and address the obstacle you are experiencing while building a meaningful career. Visit grantsconsultinggroup.com to schedule your session today.
No more chains holding me.
We come to the 3D and we forget, because I believe that we choose to come here through the vessels that we choose to come through, our parents, and through the family that we choose to come through for the lived experiences. And a lot of people don't say that because we experience so much trauma. Right. People get killed, people get raped, people get hurt. But we won't get into that. But what I'm saying is there's a realm, the 5D realm is, the best way I can explain that is love. And it's a level you removing yourself from the realm of the physical and what you see, and realize that this is just something that you're choosing to experience. You can really choose another experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the 5D realm,
I tell my son that all the time.
And when I say it's just love, I don't mean like, oh, love, fire.
Right.
No, it's that dimension is ruled by love. Not like romantic love or like I love you.
Yeah, no.
But
It's choosing love over fear. It's choosing love over
Yeah. It is. It's the way. It's choosing love over fear. It just truly is. And it's that's a simple way for me to put it.
Yeah, and it's so many people don't understand it because they don't understand it. Yes. But I advise everybody to take notes in what we're talking about and do your own research and come to your own conclusion. Because for me, you say you were a PK, a preacher's kid.
Yes.
I didn't grow up in the church, but I was raised Christian. But for me, Christianity, it just didn't feel right to me. As I was reading the Bible and going to church, there were certain aspects of it that I didn't like and I didn't understand. But I dove deep into it so I can get an understanding, but I still didn't get an understanding. So, but it led me to other religions, and I realized all the religions lead to the same thing, right? But then there was this higher thing for me that I felt was tapping into myself as being this 5-dimensional, person, and thinking on a level where I can really co-create or create, however you want to say it, the life that I want to live. And ever since I released that part of me, for me, that was forced. My mother forced religion on me because that was what she believed in, and that's okay. That's what she knew because it was forced on her or put in her life, and et cetera, but it just didn't fit right for me. But when I finally did my own research on my own, whether anybody agree with it or not, whether I agree with anything, it just felt right for me.
Right.
And when I tapped into living, breathing, and operating in this 5D, my life changed.
Yes.
Because I believed in myself more. I believed in my spiritual self more. I believed in the higher power more. I just believed, it just changed everything about me. So I always encourage people to go outside of what you know just a little bit, because then what you know will probably make more sense. So the Bible makes more sense to me now. Religion makes more sense to me now. Like my relationship with God, like all of this stuff makes more sense because I got my own understanding, right?
I tell you, when I left the church, I tell people all the time, it was a big deal because you know how I grew up. I was a minister.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't even know that about you.
Honey, I was so church-fied.
I love it.
But I found out when I left the church.
Okay, see, that's how it happens.
And not only,
sometimes for some people.
It's been such a journey. And even the things I believe now, it's not typical Christianity. I'll ruffle feathers. So even when you look at the Bible, because I abandoned it for a long time because of what I was taught. It just wasn't making sense. I came uber religious when I left the church, super religious, more so than I was in the church. Then I started having my awakening. Then I was like, kind of like you. And I'd always been a reader and student. And girl, way before you met me, back in 2008, 2009, before, I could argue that Bible back. You couldn't.
Right.
I was in those groups where I was basically evangelical, and I knew all the founding fathers of the Christian. I knew it all. But then I really started researching, and when I became more spiritual, my eyes opened to what Jesus. If I say this, my eyes open to this, that God is within and not without.
Right,
so
absolutely.
Another one of the detachment things, I believe that if we detach from the narrative that's given to us, but detach from looking outward
and looking inward. Woo,
and
girl,
looking inward for God. How about that?
Yeah.
Then you will realize your strength.
Yep. And that's exactly what happened to me,
You will know
honey.
who you are. Jesus even said, look, I'm trying to show you. Jesus was talking about the other day. I'm trying to show y'all. Y'all really are going to be able to do more things than what I'm able to do.
Right.
Like God is in you.
Yeah.
I'm my father. That's why he was saying, I am my father. We're not going there, but
it's true. But I get everything you're saying. But I think that again, because we want to, this movement is about people doing something different.
Because
if not, you'll continue to be doing the same thing and you'll be in the same place, right?
Place.
Mentally. And, for me, it's about being on this higher thinking and this higher level, this higher version of ourselves. Because when you're in that realm,
it's freedom.
There you go. It's freedom.
And I think people that I met years ago who are still singing the same song, same verse. And I'm like, wow, they haven't changed at all.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it even in marriage. People saying, but we change. Well, I would hope if you've been married 5, 10, 20 years, if y'all ain't changing, y'all really,
everybody has to evolve. You better be evolving.
You need to evolve.
Right.
And so you make a decision to love the person that they become.
Absolutely.
Because who doesn't change?
Absolutely.
The more you grow, the more you learn, experience, you should change.
Yeah, and that's what I've had to do in my marriage.
Yeah.
Learn to love every part of who he is evolving into.
Right.
And vice versa.
And
that's why I say marriage ain't hard. But anyway, we're going to talk about something.
I like that, yeah.
All right, so here's another thing. So, do you feel like I already asked you that question? I'm not going to ask you that again. I was going to ask you, have you felt like there's some trauma you haven't dealt with, but you have. You're kind of going through it, going through it at the moment. And where would you say you were at in the 7 steps as far as right now?
Say this: trauma doesn't and we did talk about this. It's not necessarily something that's violent or a violation of you, but it's something that someone may have said a word to you when you were younger. I had to go back and literally, it's not a hypnosis, but literally identify like, well, my aunt said that to me, although I was a kid and it didn't affect me then. It did. It impacted my subconscious because I can recall it to this day how I felt when she said it, and I was like, I wonder why she said that about me.
It is trauma.
And it didn't make me sad or cry at night, but it impacted who I became as an adult.
Absolutely.
She's, God rest her soul now, she probably had, and she didn't mean, she was like, look at them right there, Andrew, you're talking about Dad. Yeah, she gonna be the one, Andrew. And I don't know what that, and when I look at my life, I kind of grew into what I knew she was talking about. But your 7 steps, name them again for me.
So it's listening. Peeling, detaching, forgiving, trusting. I think you're in the trusting stage.
Okay.
Healing, evolving.
Okay. So I peeled, detach. I'm on the other side of trusting myself stage. I don't know about trusting people, but it's
trusting yourself. Because the 7 steps to release the chains is about self.
Yes, right.
It's the process that we go through, and it don't have nothing to do with anybody.
Amen.
Right. Because the forgiving process for me with my mother, I was angry at her for forcing me into a religion that I didn't identify with. And so I had to forgive her for me. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because I had to realize she did what she knew. So the 7 steps are for us, honey.
It is the trust, and it's something you said about forgiveness, because I came to the point of realizing forgiveness. It is cliche. It's not for the other person. And somebody said, well, whatever, we don't have. Nah, honestly, forgiveness is a spiritual thing for you because it's working on the inside of your spirit. Yeah. Because when you hold on to something negative like that, you cannot get to the trust in yourself and the healing.
That's true.
We ain't saying you got to like a person or deal with a person or deal with a thing, but the forgiveness is. And people always say, "But I'm a Scorpio, honey. You do one thing to me, I cut you off." But even in that, if that's your natural disposition, then those are things that you should work towards as a human, as a spiritual being having a human journey. Because you shouldn't just be cutting people off and not forgiving people. And so, people, I forgive easily. Yeah. But I mean, I
don't know about easy for me. It takes me a minute.
Well,
and I think everybody has their own level of, time that it takes to forgive.
That's true. I'm not saying I forgive you instantly.
Right.
I get to the point where I'm willing to forgive people now. I should say it like that.
Right.
But then again, I don't deal with certain people after I forgive them, because I'm like, you showed me what you are, but if I guess you do your work and you come to me and my spirit messes with your spirit, I'll know. I'm not worried about that.
Right.
But I'm in the healing part.
That's good.
I'm in but I'm still I'm on the other side of trust, beginning to really get into because I've done some healing over the years, but you always going to recognize, you got to heal in that area. You ain't really quite healed there. And I'm willing to call that out of myself. Because I don't want to impede myself from my definition of success for me. Because everybody's definition of success is different. And it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with me feeling whole within myself.
Yeah.
And
I agree. We have to redefine what success is for ourselves.
You have to. So many people base success on money.
And houses and material things. And it's like, that's not what it's about. For me, success is freedom, man.
It's freedom.
Freedom. Just freedom to be who I want to be. Show up to a meeting in jeans and sneakers. Just the freedom to live a life that I absolutely love.
Yes.
While I'm making my own decisions, I feel like I'm in more control. That's success for me. You know what I'm saying? So I get that.
And freedom for me is having impact. I want to have impact on other people.
Yeah.
Not because I'm white and but I know what I'm called to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want, it's like I could see, I'm like, if we could get as a people, man, if we could switch that. And then I see some people are halfway speaking the right thing, but they're still holding. I'm like, bro, but we're not going to get there because you still, identified as black.
Yeah.
And you still blaming other people. So this is what people have a hard time listening. And I hear other people say this. And I'm going to say it now. Until you stop blaming somebody else for your situation, I'm talking about...
Okay, white people? We're talking about white people?
Yeah.
The government,
black people stop
slavery.
blaming white people. Yeah. And I know, I'm not saying it hasn't impacted us.
Right.
Because we just talked about how it's passed down.
That's the victim mentality. That's the victim mentality.
Is accountability for oneself.
Yeah, you go. Ooh,
you
that's
look
good.
at the people who are black and making money. When you look at the Madam C.J. Walkers from the past.
Right.
Who, like... Okay, if everything that we went through, they were going through it back then. So how did they become rich?
Right.
How did they get favored, quote, with white people? Because they didn't give a darn about all that stuff. They knew what they were doing. They made the moves. They played the game. And they weren't focused on being a victim. They just weren't. So I choose not to focus on that.
Girl, I'm doing a whole movie, No More Chains 3.
Yes.
And it's called Ditching the Victim Mentality.
Oh my God, I cannot wait for that.
Because oh my gosh, we are so stuck in not the past, but if we can just release that. Because what it does is, for one, it makes us play small.
It does.
It makes us think small. It makes us make excuses for not advancing within ourselves. That victim, and I'm not saying we're not victims, because even when it comes to like some things that are very touchy for a lot of people, like domestic violence, abuse as a child, molestation, I'm not saying that we're not victims. I'm saying it's the mentality of the victim that we have to ditch, that we have to release.
I agree with you. But then I also believe that you have a choice in everything in life.
No, I agree with you.
So
girl, yes.
I'm trying to balance that, knowing, well, I know what happened in the past to our people. But then I also believe you have a choice. But I also know that what we've been taught ain't quite all the truth, and a lot is exaggerated.
Absolutely.
I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
I know there were way more free people than there were slaves.
Right.
But they're not going to tell you that.
Right.
Just like there are way more free people than there are incarcerated black people today. But when people down the line read the history books, God, it was almost, they're going to think all black men were in jail the way the narrative is now.
Right.
I know within my spirit that there were more free blacks than there were enslaved.
And this is the thing too. This is the thing. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to because that's what we've learned. But I also know too that there were a lot of enslaved people who fought against. I mean, they rebelled. They had armies, and and they like came together and collaborated and formed groups and partnerships.
Man, let me tell you something.
You know what I mean?
Okay, I want people to really think about something. This is what I tell people sometimes about being critical thinkers. So, you know the Reconstruction period, the Reconstruction era after slavery, after we were freed, right? Then we had the Reconstruction period when we had more black men in Congress. There were actually senators and a ton. They were all Republicans. They were all in politics. When you think about things like Tulsa, okay, if we were enslaved, they wouldn't let us read. They wouldn't let us write. They wouldn't let us go to school, right? How do people who were enslaved get out and start? First off, how did they become doctors and lawyers and teachers?
And entrepreneurs
and
all
entrepreneurs.
that.
You know, you think all this only happened within Reconstruction?
Right.
Reconstruction period wasn't that long. They
Right.
like, oh, these black folks up here in this government,
Right.
we got to fix these laws. And so that's just my theory. You know, we can't see it in the books because we've been given our history.
Right.
But I know what my spirit rings is true because I've done some research on how far back and all the way back when they started collecting the census, taking the census. And it tells you what they were. There were no slaves on one side of my family. You know, there were Indians. You know, when you say we ain't black, then what were we?
Right.
But you know how I feel.
And then we also, girl, we can talk about this all day about us already being here and all of that.
That victimhood mentality, it's not denying our past.
Right.
But at some point in time, you got to take control. If one of us can make it, if you can have, what's the Johnson man who started
Bob Johnson?
Bob Johnson, BT, right?
Yeah,
If you can have Ebony, the man who died with Ebony, if you can have the Diddy's, if you can have the Jay-Z's, do you think that they've only selected a hand? No, their mindset, if you talk to those people, they're not victims. They're taking what they believe is theirs. They played the little nasty game in the entertainment industry, but they're taking what is theirs. You know, they may say they have strange bedfellows. I mean, maybe so. But I think the heart of this country really isn't racism. It's going to be classism. It's the haves and the have-nots. And if you get to a certain level, they don't care what color you are. They're not sitting around discussing racism. They use it because they know we're sitting around talking about it. And it helps keeps us in our place. So, and you know, you got educators who, well, anyway. So that victimhood,
that's a big change.
It's a big change.
That's a big, huge change.
It just take like these braces. It just needs to fall.
Yes.
It just needs to fall. Make that noise. It needs to fall.
Yeah.
I promise you.
I'm hoping that this is resonating with somebody.
I hope so.
You know, because we're not judging, we're not bashing, we're not you know, talking about folks. We're just passionate.
I have a heart for us to wake up.
And that's the connection between you and I, the passion that we have for our people as a culture to get it. That's what we talked about earlier, to get it. We just want people to get it and to take control of ourselves and stop being controlled. I know for me, that's so personal and passionate for me, because I see it all the time, how we just in this, you know, it's like we're robots sometimes, right? Oh, I gotta go get a shot. Oh, I gotta go do this because I was told to. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things where and like you and I talk about, and many people say this, you can't take everybody, right?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
So what do you think would be a solution, at least a starting point for somebody? Yeah. Not collectively, because we can't, everybody can't go. Everybody can't go.
Everybody won't go.
And everybody won't go.
No.
But for that one person listening to this podcast right now, or watching on YouTube at the moment, what is one step that they can begin to take to just open themselves up, to gain more control, release whatever chain it is that they have? What would you say for, you know what I mean? Just one thing to start, to at least get started.
Block the noise. Shut out the noise.
That's good.
So you can begin to hear yourself.
That's good. And that's the first step in releasing the chain, is listening. Listening to yourself.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're going to have to shut out the noise. And so many people, you know, we do this, you know, especially religious people, church people sometimes. And I still have friends who, a lot of people are embracing spiritual things. And here's the truth. Because I believe God is within. So the spirit of God lives within you, which is you.
Yep.
Which is you. So in order to hear you, you got to block everything else out. And that's a deliberate practice. Because if you're hearing something right now that's making you question yourself or feel uneasy or make you feel like, I feel like that, but how? That's you speaking to yourself. That's you speaking. Listen to yourself.
Yes.
Listen.
That's so
and
good.
Trust God, or whatever you call source. I call it source mostly. Trust God you have to trust God and know that God will. Don't look, it's just going to show up. Mm-hmm. And you got to take accountability for yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Whatever you are now, whatever has happened to you, you got to own this. I promise you, I don't think anything's going to change until you own your entire life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't care if your mama was mad, abandoned you. Mm-hmm. Own your life.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard that before.
Own it. And shut the noise out. That's the first step. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because once you start letting other people in and you asking, this is how I feel, you're going to have to resist the urge to share with your bestie, the one you share with everybody. See, that's my twin sister. I share everything with. So when I deliberately last June, July, cut her out, it was the hardest thing ever. Even when she used to make me mad, it was the hardest thing ever.
I bet.
Not to share with her. Yeah. But it was the most, I grew. I grew.
Because you were able to hear yourself.
Trust myself.
Trust yourself. You know, go through that whole process of releasing whatever it was. And you are becoming and became a better person, a better woman as a result of it. Oh my God. I've been wanting to have, thank you so much for just bringing the real and the rawness so that we can evolve as a culture. Can you please again speak on your business and tell us, you know, of course, people who are watching will see the website, but those of us that are listening on the podcast, where can we get more information? Where can we purchase our cakes, honey?
Definitely.
All that.
We're going to be, my website is MaryAliceCakes.com. Mary Alice is the brand name. But when you snooze, you lose. So when I was starting the business and changing the name, I was like, I'll get the name later because I knew it was available. But when I went to go get MaryAlice.com, it was gone. Oh, man. So I had to add cakes. Okay. And I don't like cakes on it because it makes people think I make cakes. I'm not a baker, and people know me as a baker. But it's cake mix. But I wasn't going to put Mary Alice cake mixes because it's going to be, Mary Alice is going to have more than cake mixes. We're going to have frostings. We're going to have,
I can't wait to taste your buttercream frosting. You got to bring me some next time.
I'm going to have to.
Okay.
So, MaryAliceCakes.com, we have one flavor called the Perfect White right now. We are launching, we're a little slow behind with the manufacturing. It's supposed to be released in June. We're coming out in a few weeks with our chocolate. I cannot wait. It's just the perfect. It's not too sweet because, you know, you have to make stuff for everybody. Some people don't like it real sweet. Some people like it really sweet, but you're going to add frosting to it, so it's going to be super, super sweet. So I'm really excited. Then we have a gluten mixer. It's the best gluten I've ever tasted. Not because I work with a really great manufacturer, and I'm trying to make sure I do all American-based manufacturers. We're also coming out with a line of bakeware.
Oh, nice!
I'm excited.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
A proprietary. I'm not going to even release what the other is, but it's something for bakers. So I'm really excited. So,
that is so awesome.
So we're on Amazon as well. And by the time this airs, hopefully we will be, I can announce right now, we're in a major retailer, which is exciting. So I just want people to, honestly, I dreamed really big with this business.
That's good.
I was not
That's what it's about, though. That's what it's about.
Ari, I literally started with no money. I had a job, but my job, it was just paying for my bills. And I have sons in college, so it was paying tuition. It was paying my bills. Right. And so I didn't have anything to start this, but I started. And I was like, you know what, God, you're going to give me away. Because I know people support me. So I did a crowdfunder. You know, the majority of people in that crowdfunder, aside from you and other people that know me, were people I didn't know. Yeah. And so I did it. And now we officially launched November 2020, and here we are in June 21, and I'm a partner with a major retailer. That is one everybody loves.
But that's just, it's just like one of those things where when you go out,
another grocery store contacted me last week too. So I mean, it's moving.
Well, I'm happy to hear. But like I told you, like I already know, this is gonna be a future multimillionaire. Like I can see all of it happening. One, because you deserve it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You've been working hard for it, and you already see the vision.
Yeah.
When you can see it, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
All you got to do is just take the necessary steps. The action, etc., etc.
No more chains holding me.
She's a CEO is the ultimate family card game and also an educational business toolkit for seasoned and aspiring entrepreneurs. It's fun, it's challenging, it's educational. Get some knowledge and pay some homage. There are a few ways to play for the most enjoyment and benefit. Play your favorite card games: spades, gin, poker, bid whist, or whatever your family loves to play. Are you ready to be mentally challenged in a fun way? Play our signature BizWiz business development matchup card game. The objective is to collect the most customers correctly, based on matched business development statements we've created for you. Each week, research one of the noted entrepreneurs we've celebrated in the deck by pulling 1 or 2 random cards from the deck. Use the cards for daily, weekly, or occasional inspiration. Read their stories and learn more about the change they've had to release to create long-term success and a legacy that will last forever. She's a CEO, a SheEO. Visit she'sasheo.biz to order your official business educational card deck today.
No more chains holding me.
So I am super excited. So is there anything else based on what we've shared? Is there anything you feel like you want to share with the people, or a question for me even, or just anything you just kind of want to close with? This has been amazing.
Well, you know what? I have looked at you from afar for years, and now being able to be in your presence and hang with you personally on a personal level.
Yeah,
I just love how we connect. You stuck with me, just so you know.
Oh yeah, I don't know where, girl.
You inspire me.
Oh,
and
awesome.
You really do. And I look at what you're doing and the moves you make, and I'm like, ooh, God, I'm glad. I'm telling you, God, Source will direct people into your lives that have doors that they're opening doors for you that you can't even imagine. So I don't think anything is happenstance. We're connected for a reason.
Absolutely.
And you inspire me. I want you to know that. But and that's what I want to leave with people. Don't worry about who's with you or who's on this journey with you, because who started out with you may not end up being with you at all. And they may serve a purpose, but I promise you, people are going to walk in that you didn't even expect. And bring things. You just gotta. It's one thing to believe. It's another to know. You gotta know. Knowing, believing. You gotta believe it, but you gotta know. So when you say a multimillionaire, that old man's like, yeah, no, I know it.
And you know it, you believe it, you know it.
And stop putting on time. Stop. Like, where is it? Because that creates resistance. Just know. It's there already. It's already there. So I just, make those relationships, make those connections, open up your heart and your mind that, even this late stage in your life, not late stage, even in this stage in your life, there could be new people to come. So yeah, you gotta know.
I love that. And people do come into your life, and I hope that you listening to this podcast came into your life at the right moment, because again, I can't stress enough that this is the purpose for the Release the Chains movement.
Yes.
It's not just a podcast, it's not a film, it's not a book. It is really a movement. I've always been about empowering minds and changing lives, and I will only bring people on this show who are about that life.
I appreciate
that. Thank you guys for listening. Follow Marla. Go to Mary Alice Cakes. What's your IG?
So my IG is Marla. My personal IG is Marla Pruitte, Pruitte, and Mary Alice Cakes on IG. Please follow Mary Alice Cakes on IG and Mary Alice Cakes on Facebook.
Awesome. You guys can follow us at Release the Chains on Instagram, and then you can follow me, of course, Ari Squires Speaks on all platforms. Thank you guys. Please leave your comments in the chat. We'd love to hear what you got from this, okay?
Yeah.
See you next time.
No more chains holding me.